Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hope everyone is doing well. Today, inshallah, we'll be discussing a few things. However, everything we'll be discussing will be centered around one main thing, and that is reading an Arabic sentence. Okay. When you look at any language, or let's speak about Arabic specifically, if you look at a sentence, what's in a sentence? In a sentence, you will have words. The words are made up of letters. So we spoke about the letters. We discussed the letters in detail, all the letters, pronunciation, how it is written, vowels, different markings. So from the letters, if you join the letters, you're going to get words. And we learned how to join the letters. And if you have words, you then have to join the words to have a sentence. Okay. So what do we need to know when we want to approach reading a sentence? The reality is that there is nothing new when we're speaking about reading a sentence, because the words in an Arabic sentence specifically join in the same way that letters join in a word. So the same way that we read a word, we break it up into smaller units, and then we read them together. The same when reading a sentence. We're going to read the words together in the exact same way. So we're going to speak about that very briefly. And then we're going to move on to speak about some of the very important reading concepts in Arabic. And we'll speak about that in a moment when we get there. Okay. So I want to start off by just repeating the principle I just said. Words flow in a sentence just as letters flow in a word. Let's have a look at this verse over here, which we can call a sentence. This verse reads as Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Can you see that it was read as if it was one word? Okay, so let's analyze the sentence. So the first word we have is Iyyaka. Iyyaka. The second word, I'm going to add another word. Here we have na'budu. So the first thing, and that is what we've been doing the entire course, is how to read a word fluently. So some letters will be read on its own, and some letters will be read with the letter before it, as with the sukun and the shadda. So in iyyaka, iyyaka, and then we have na'budu. Once you are able to read words fluently, you don't need to learn anything extra. Your main focus should be reading words fluently. Reading a sentence in fluency will naturally come as you become more comfortable with reading words. So learning how to read an Arabic sentence, is not going to make your reading more fluent. Practicing your reading in words will make your reading more fluent. So let's see. So if we have iyyaka and na'budu, so we want to join them together. So then it will be read as iyyaka na'budu. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ. As one word. So now we want to add another word to that. Here we have وَإِيَّاكَ. وَإِيَّاكَ. So by now we already mastered the process of reading a word, breaking it up into smaller pieces, and how we should break it up and how we should join the words. Right? Once we have that, وَإِيَّاكَ, we want to join that word to the previous words. So we're going to read إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ. As if it is one single word. So the barriers between them becomes removed, and it's as if it is one big word. And that is how Arabic is read and is spoken as well, or should be spoken. Okay, let's add the final word. نستعين. 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 So we have إياك نعبد وإياك. Like one long word. The next word is نستعين. So then we would now join all the words as if they were one word. And the secret to that is reading each word fluently on its own, and then just joining it to the next word, just as the letters join in a word. So now we would have إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ as one long word. But the secret is to break it up into smaller units. So the smaller units of a word are the letters. The smaller units of a sentence are the words. So with the words should join as the letters join in a word. Okay, let's look at another sentence, another verse. Here we go. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alam nashrah laka sadrak. Alam nashrah laka sadrak. Okay, so let's see. Take the first word, alam. 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 Let's take another word. Nashrah. Nashrah. So alam and nashrah, we read them as one word. Alam nashrah. Alam nashrah. Let's add another word. Laka. Laka. Alam nashrah laka. Alam nashrah laka. Let's add another word. Sadrak. 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 Alam nashrah laka sadrak. Laka sadrak. You're going to see it as if it's one word. Laka sadrak. Alam nashrah laka sadrak. So the reality is, when reading an Arabic sentence, it should be as if you are reading one word. However, you cannot just read the entire sentence as if you're literally reading one word. You have to break it up, right? And you will only be able to smoothly do the reading if you are comfortable with the individual words, right? So knowing how to read an Arabic sentence is one thing. The ability to read the sentence with fluency will come with practicing individual words and practicing reading words, because it will be the same scenarios that will be repeating itself, the same letters, fatha, kasra, sukun, shadda. Once you've mastered that process in words, the same will flow over into the sentence. So in reality, the sentence is going to be a result of practicing reading of words. Okay. That's it for how to read a word. Now, as of right now, we covered everything that is needed to read an Arabic text, except Now there are a few things, right, that you will find in a text. The issue with those things is that you will not read them, not apply them. You'll have to ignore them. And that is when things become, it doesn't become complicated, but you need to be aware of them. And you need to know exactly how to deal with each of these concepts and know confidently when you should ignore them. So why do we learn it at the very end? What we should ignore in a text? Because basically, I'm going to tell you now that you have been saying some of these letters, the letter lam, all the time. There is sukoon, you see it, you pronounce it. Now I'll tell you, hey, sometimes if you see that same thing, look, don't pronounce it, right? So basically, it's like now learning to reverse. We've learned how to drive. Now we need to learn how to reverse. And when you're reversing, things can change a little bit. As you know, when you turn, the tail turns a certain way to your steering wheel. So we really would want to be, you would have to be comfortable, at least comfortable with the entire process of reading before going into what you should ignore, right? When reading a text. Okay. The main thing is this concept over here. As we can see, and this is the opening verse of Surah Al-Fatiha, you'll see this concept, as I'm highlighting over there, highlighted all of them, this concept over there. This is something that you would see all the time in every verse, or in any Arabic sentence. You will find at least one, sometimes even 2, 3, or 4 of these. Now this is called the connecting Hamza. Now the connecting Hamza is in application, it is somewhat problematic. But the reason why it becomes complicated to study, but inshallah it won't be, we're going to solve it inshallah. But the reason why it becomes complicated is because this concept is actually tied up to many sciences in the Arabic language. It is linked to Arabic grammar. So we will be, some of our lessons that we'll be learning will be actually more close to a grammar class, Arabic class. So it's going to, this class will be very beneficial. It's going to be extremely important to know exactly what to do with the connecting Hamza. The connecting Hamza is called in Arabic the Hamzatul Wasl. But I want to stick to the English term because I need you to focus 100% with this concept. So I don't want you, if you cannot pronounce, I don't want anyone who is unable to pronounce that as yet to be focusing on the pronunciation. So we're going to call it by its English name, the connecting Hamza. Now, let me tell you as an introduction, the connecting Hamza, 90%, if not 95% of the time that you see it in a text will be completely silent, as if it don't exist, as if it doesn't exist at all. Completely skipped, silent, it's just there for reasons that does not even concern us, not even really important, 95% of the time. The other 5% of the time causes all the confusion, right? And we're going to see that today. But bear in mind that, remember, most of the time, you would have to ignore it. Okay. With that being said, I want to start by dividing the connecting Hamza into categories that we should understand the connecting Hamza in. So when we look at the connecting Hamza, our mind should just go at two things. The first thing is, if you look at this example over here, and you look at the connecting Hamza, I want you to see that it is the first letter in the sentence. Or you can say it's at the very beginning of the sentence. But let's say the first letter in the sentence. This is no letter before it. Again, here's another example. The connecting Hamza is again the first letter in the sentence. There is no letter before the connecting Hamza. Final example with this regard, the connecting Hamza is again the first letter in the sentence. There is no letter before the connecting Hamza. This is going to be one category. It's very simple, right? But you have to learn it like this. When the connecting Hamza is the first letter in the sentence, that is one scenario, and it will have a certain application. Okay, let's move on to the second scenario. There are two. Let's have a look at this over here. You can see here the connecting Hamza, which I colored in gray, is not the first letter in the sentence. There is words or letters before the connecting Hamza. There's a wow there. Again, you can see over here in this sentence, the connecting Hamza is again not the first letter. There is speech, there's words, letters, whatever, anything before the connecting Hamza. There is something before it. It's not the first letter. And again, in this one over here, it's again, you can say in the middle of a sentence, but when I don't want to say in the middle, then you think that it has to be in the center, right? As long as it's not the first letter, it's going to be of a different category. So the second category is, it's not the first letter in the sentence. Okay. In this category that I highlighted in gray purposefully, in that situation, the connecting Hamza will be as if it does not exist at all. And we're going to do now a lot of examples, and we're going to speak about it thoroughly. And in this is a situation that takes up 90 to 95% of your encounter with this concept. It will be not the first letter in the sentence, and it will therefore have no application. Skip. The first letter in the sentence, okay, now it's that 5% that we spoke about. And then there are more than one way of applying that, and we're going to speak about that now. Okay, so let's speak about the connecting Hamza when it's not the first letter in the sentence. Why are we speaking about this situation first? Because I said it is the overwhelming majority of the time that you will see this concept, it will be that it's not the first letter in the sentence. And in that is going to be skipped. So this is the easier one. So we're starting with the easiest scenario first. So now if I told you that it will have no application, it's just there for show. What does that mean? That means that we will just continue doing what we have been doing all along. What have we been doing? We've been reading letters, joining letters, reading words. So nothing is different. It's just that this connecting Hamza is going to be a guest and it will be ignored. Now look at this example. Here we go. There's a connecting Hamza. We have the wa, and then there's a connecting Hamza, and the ta with a shadda, kha and a da. This is how it will be read. Wattakhadha. Wattakhadha. Shadda on the ta, so I'm stressing the ta. Wattakhadha. If you look at this portion of the word over here, and I say wattakhadha, can you hear that I'm going from the waw straight into the ta? I'm saying watta. Watta. So immediately we can see the connecting Hamza has no application. Let's look at another example. And because this connecting Hamza, which is actually the shape on top there, look like a sword, it's standing on an alif. It's using an alif as a housing, just like the Hamza does, right? So that's why it's connected to the ba over there. But if I read this word over here, بالقلم بالقلم bil Bill. Can you see that portion? Bill. I'm saying bill. So I'm going from the B straight into the lam with sukoon. Bill. Again, the connecting Hamza has no application. As if it doesn't exist. So here we go. Let's do some more examples. Wal qamaru. Wal qamaru. Wal qamaru. You see there? Wal. From the wa straight to the lam. Let's look at over this over here. Again, it's not the first letter in the sentence. Be well aware of that. In all these examples, the connecting Hamza is not the first letter in the sentence. So here we go with this word. وَذَكَرَ اسْمَهُ وَذَكَرَ اسْمَهُ. See that portion over there? Look how the ra connects to the sin. وَذَكَرَ اسْمَهُ. Ras, 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 and totally ignored the connecting Hamza. وَذَكَرَ اسْمَهُ. رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Surah Fatiha. رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Here we go. Take note of this portion here. So we have the Rabbi. Rabbi, shut down the ba, so I'm stressing it. And then the kasra on the ba, straight into the lam. The lam has sukoon. Rabbil. Rabbil. You see how the ba is doubled and stressed? And the connecting Hamza has absolutely no place in pronunciation. Last example. صراط المستقيم. Again, Surah Fatiha. So you will see this over there. صراط المستقيم. Can you see that? Tal, straight into the lam. And there's still two words joining together. And as you can see also how the words are joining just as the words are joining to each other, just as if they were letters in one word. Tal mustaqim. Sirat tal mustaqim. What I want you to focus on is how the connecting Hamza, when it falls in the middle of the sentence, or simply when it's not the first letter, it will be skipped without ifs or buts. So this is the conclusion. So the connecting Hamza or the Hamzatul Wasl in Arabic, if it's not the first letter in the sentence, or if it's in the middle of the sentence, it will always be silent, skipped. As if it doesn't exist. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about what happens when the connecting Hamza is the first letter in the sentence. So far, we've done nothing new. We just said that this connecting Hamza is going to appear in the text and we're going to ignore it if it's not the first letter. Now I want to speak about if it's the first letter. Okay, before I do that, I just want to know if everyone with me so far? Everyone's still alive? Are you there? You let me know. Okay, that's excellent. That's very good. Okay, so now we're going to take it very slow, because this part is actually falls under, it's actually illegal to speak about this in a beginner's course. However, it's not difficult in itself. It just needs some concentration, and you're going to have to memorize after the lesson. So you won't memorize everything that I said now. Some of you will, but if you don't, that's fine. But it's in the text, it's in the notes. After the lesson, you're going to have to memorize the things in here because it's so important, especially if you're going to learn Arabic as a language, right? This is going to help you so much. Why? Because what we are just going to discuss now is what happens when the connecting Hamza is the first letter in the sentence. Now, when reading Quran, all these sentences, most of the time when you start reading, you are reading sentences. You don't get a verse with only one word. Maybe there are a few. You count on your one hand how many verses are there with just one word. Most of the time you're reading sentences. That is why the connecting Hamza will be skipped straight away. 95% gone. They're useless. However, when you're learning Arabic as a language, what happens? You're learning vocabulary. And when you learn vocabulary, you are learning individual words. And when you learn individual words, you are going to see this appear a lot in the beginning of the sentence because you are just learning words. It's just one word. Okay. So full focus. So let's see what happens. The reality is that when the connecting Hamza appears in the beginning of the sentence, or specifically is the first letter in the sentence, that's what we really mean. It will be pronounced either as a, I, or U. One of the three. Remember, it's called the connecting Hamza, not called Hamza for no reason. Hamza because, as we know, the Hamza is a, I, and U. So the connecting Hamza, when it's in the beginning of the sentence, it will fulfill that role of being either a, I, or U. Okay, now the golden question is, how do we know? And I got this question a lot. In fact, someone asked me this question like just a few minutes before the class, or sent me a picture. And I hope if you're in this class, I hope you are going to know by the end of this lesson how to do that. So how do we know whether the connecting Hamza should be pronounced as a, or I, or U? And why is this question so important? Because if you look at the connecting Hamza, it doesn't look like it's a or I or U. It always looks the same. So you should kind of know whether it's a, I, or U. They expect you to know. Through your imagination, you should be able to picture it without there being a fatha or kasra or dhamma on there. Okay. Let's start with the a. When will it be pronounced with a fatha? When will the Hamzatul Wasl or the connecting Hamza be pronounced with a fatha? Let's look at these examples that we know. This word over here, the first word in Surah Al-Fatiha, Alhamdu. There we go. The connecting Hamza is the first letter in the sentence. So now we want to know, is it a, I, u? Now let me tell you, it's a. Alhamdu. And we're going to discuss why. So that is Alhamdu. That's how it will be read. However, it will be written with a normal connecting Hamza. Look at another example. Al-Qari'atu. The name of the surah. And the surah begins like that as well. Al-Qari'atu. Al. The connecting Hamza has a fatha. Al-Qari'atu. Another example. Alladhi. 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 Fatha on the connecting Hamza. Alladhi. When does the connecting Hamza get a fatha? When it's in the beginning of the sentence? Here's how. So if you look at all three examples, you'll see that after the connecting Hamza, in the beginning of the sentence, you find a lam. Whether the lam has a sukoon or it has a shadda, there's a lam there. And that's the rule. The connecting Hamza will be pronounced with a fatha if there is a lam after it. Very easy, very simple, very plain, very straightforward. Let's look at more examples. Al-Jibalu. Al-Jibalu. Ask me, how do you know? That's Al-Jibalu. Why is it not Il-Jibalu or Ul-Jibalu? Fatha. Why? Because after the connecting Hamza, there is a lam. Al, so it's a. Al-Jibalu. Another example. Al-Qamaru. Al-Qamaru. There is a lam. After the connecting Hamza, the connecting Hamza will get a fatha. Allati. There is a lam after the connecting Hamza. The connecting Hamza will get a fatha. Allati. That's the fatha solved. Is everyone fine? Did everyone get that? Before we move on to the real monster. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the real monster. Now, I'll tell you this why. Remember I said the connecting Hamza, when it appears in the middle of a sentence, and that will be the case 95%. 90 to 95% of the time, it's going to be skipped. All right? Now, I told you, okay, if it's in the beginning of the sentence, there are three possibilities. A, I, or U. When is it A? When there is a lam after the connecting Hamza. Now, this situation, right, is the 4%. So 95% in the middle of the sentence, skip. Okay, 4% in the beginning of the sentence, it has a fatha, 4%. The other two scenarios is the most difficult, and it appears the least in the Quran specifically. It appears the least in the beginning of the sentence, and you read to the kasra dhamma. Very little, count on two hands how many situations there are, but it is very important. And that's exactly, someone specifically asked me that question, because if you come across it, you are really going to be stuck. So we're going to do it, right? Because we might not get another opportunity to do it, so we're going to do it, inshallah. Okay, but you're going to have to focus. Okay, when is it connecting Hamza? When will it be read as I or U? Remember, we're speaking about when it's the first letter in the sentence. If it's not the first letter, we don't even discuss it. Just go outside, skipped. Okay, let's look at words that we know. So it happened to appear in Surah Al-Fatiha. Here we go. That word, is it ahdina? Is it ihdina? Is it uhdina? Which one is it? We already said is when there's a lam after the connecting Hamza. Here there's no lam. Okay, so is it ihdina or uhdina? Let me tell you, it's ihdina, the kasra. Ihdina, that I know, and we all know that. Okay, let's look at another word here. Irhamna, again, kasra. Irhamna, irhamna. And look at this example. Usjudu, usjudu. Now, if you look at these three words, see, okay, twice it appeared with a kasra, and once it appeared with a dhamma. This must be random. That was my first thinking before I looked closely into this. And many, even some advanced students, Arabic, still struggle with this. So how do we know? Is there some clue in the word that tell us whether that connecting Hamza should be I or U? How do we know? We know it's either I or U because in the first letter of the sentence. How do we know? No, not the sukoon. So now this is it. So take note of this. The secret is to look at the harakat on the third letter. Now, it is very simple. So you look in the text, right? And then you list count. So let's take this first word over here, ihdina. Ihdina. So let's count the letters. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's the third letter. Remember the rule says, look at the harakat on the third letter. So we counted now. 1, 2, 3. We found. What harakat is on the third letter? Can you tell me in the chat? The third letter, look at number 3. It's a dash below the letter. On the dal, there's a dash below the letter. Kasra, yes. Yes, so that's fine. Kasra. Okay, excellent. Excellent, very important. So let me give you the rule. This is the rule. As simple as this. And we can do a lot of examples, so don't worry. This is the rule. Here we go. If the third letter has a kasra, it will be read with kasra. So if the third letter has a kasra on it, then the connecting hamza will be read with a kasra. Ihdina. Ihdina. How do you know it's ihdina? Because the third letter has a kasra. Okay. Let's look at the next word over here. The next word at the bottom, irhamna. Let's count. Remember they said look at the third letter, so we want to do that first. 1, 2, the ra is 2, the ha is 3. What harakat is on the ha? Yes. Okay, so let me tell you the rule. If the third letter has a fatha, it will also be read with kasra. So they made it easy for us. Remember, fatha, the connecting hamza will be read with a fatha if it has a lam after it. We've done that. Now we're saying, when you see the connecting hamza in the beginning of a word, and there's no lam after it, you want to know how should you pronounce the connecting hamza? Look at the third letter. If the third letter has a kasra or a fatha, the connecting hamza will be read with a kasra. Irhamna. The third letter has a fatha or a kasra. The connecting hamza will be read with a kasra. Finally, here we go. Let's count the last word. Let's look at the third letter. 1, 2, 3. What harakat is on the third letter? Dhamma. Usjudu. Let's read the rule. If the third letter has a dhamma, it will be read with a dhamma. End of story. So, when the hamza, the connecting hamza is in the middle of a sentence, skip. If it's in the beginning of the sentence, okay. If it's followed by a lam, alhamdu, al-qari'a, allati, alladhi. Okay. If it's in the beginning of the sentence, after there's no lam, it's a word. We want to know what should it get. We look at the third letter. Ihdina. How do you know? Ihdi. Yeah, I can see a kasra on the third letter, so it's ihdina. Okay, irhamna. There's a fatha on the third letter. So yes, the rule says kasra, fatha on the third letter. The connecting hamza will be read kasra. And when will be read with a dhamma? If the third letter has a dhamma. Now, what you have to do, right? This is all fine. But what you have to do is after the lesson, you need to study the scenarios so that you do not get confused between like you start looking for the third letter when there is a lam after the connecting hamza, because the connecting hamza should get a fatha, or when the connecting hamza is in the middle of a sentence and then you're looking for the third letter. So you should just study this the notes to just get a map of then you should be fine. Okay, I don't understand the second part. Which part exactly? Yes, study. Yes, it's like a math rule. Study as is. This rule, right, is actually it's like 98% accurate. So there's a few exceptions, very few exceptions, but 98% accurate. Okay. Okay. So Warga Miller, you don't understand the second part? Let us know, and I will repeat again. There we go. So I want to do some exercises now, right? So let's see. Yes, the fatha and the kasra. Okay, so let's do some exercises on what we just said. And we'll do some extra. The third letter will not have a sukoon, right? Yeah, so that is why that is where it becomes like it will become confusing if you try to find a pattern beyond this pattern. Why? Because this this topic in itself, the connecting hamza, it doesn't belong in the subject or the science of reading. It doesn't belong there. It actually belongs in grammar, right? And in another science of morphology, basically how words are made and how they change. So you won't find a scenario out of these. You won't find a third letter, a sukoon or anything like that, or a mad, or you won't have to worry, right? You won't have to worry. The third letter will have a haraka. It will be a fatha, kasra, or dhamma, right? And then you memorize the formula. and you apply it, and especially, like I said, if you're learning Arabic, because you're going to be dealing with a lot of words, right? And there are more things that can be said. Like I said, if it was a grammar class, there's so much more to be said, but it has nothing, it won't benefit you in any way if you're learning how to read. So we will leave it at that. So let's do some examples, right? And if you want to participate, you can. So it'll be some good exercise for you. Just looking at the sentence, who can tell us quickly what haraka will the connecting Hamza get? Okay, the third letter. Okay. Okay, so you guys are good. I'm going to do it anyway. So, okay, correct, but I'm still going to do it. Okay. 1, 2, 3. For those who didn't get it, the third letter, it's a ba, it has a kasra on it. The rule said, if the third letter has a kasra, the connecting Hamza get a kasra. Isbir. Okay, here we go. Who can tell me quickly? The connecting Hamza. Kasra. Good. Excellent. So 1, 2, 3. Kasra. Idrib. Idrib. How do I know? Third letter has a kasra. Last one here. Istighfar. We all know this word. Istighfar means to say astaghfirullah, 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 ask repentance. That's what it means. Istighfar. How do you know it's istighfar and not astighfar and ustighfar? Istighfar because the third letter has a kasra. 1, 2, 3, kasra. Here we go, istighfar. If the third letter has a kasra, it will be read with kasra. So now we concluded on that. We concluded. Look at the next example. Who can tell me which haraka will the connecting Hamza get here? Which haraka will the connecting Hamza get? Not which haraka is on the third letter. Right? So you have to do the formula, you have to do the calculation. Excellent. Perfect. So 1, 2, 3, fatha on the third letter. The rule tell me that if the third letter has a fatha connecting Hamza, kasra, ija'al. Another example. Yes. So if the third letter has a fatha, then the connecting Hamza will get an imaginary kasra. Okay. Let's look at another example. Okay, so if someone say that someone is getting confused, it is confusing because there's no pattern. You have to memorize a formula, right? So try to bear with us, and if you're still struggling with this part, watch this particular part after the class again, right? So here we have a word. The connecting Hamza is in the beginning of the sentence. So in the beginning of the sentence, we know it will either be read as a, I, or u. We said, when will it be read as a? If there is a lam after it. Okay, there's no lam after it. Now we look at the third letter. If the third letter has a kasra, the connecting Hamza will be read with a kasra, I. Like in the previous examples. And we said that if the third letter has a fatha, the connecting Hamza will also be read with a kasra. And that can normally become confusing. So 1, 2, 3, the third letter has a fatha. So the Hamzatul Wasl, the connecting Hamza, will be read with a kasra, I. Idhhab. Another example, third letter, 1, 2, 3, fatha. With what letter, with what haraka should the connecting Hamza be read? Someone says kasra, kasra, kasra. Excellent. Ishrab. How do we know? Because the third letter has a fatha. If the third letter has a fatha or a kasra, the connecting Hamza will be read with a fatha. And there's the second rule. If the third letter has a fatha, it will also be read with a kasra. And what I mean by it, sorry, if this is not clarified, let me clarify now. If the third letter has a fatha, it, I mean the connecting Hamza. We're talking about the connecting Hamza. That's a subject over here. The connecting Hamza will also be read with a kasra. So I think it was that that my wording maybe that was confusing someone. So I apologize for that. Okay. Finally, yeah. 1, 2, 3. Third letter is a dhamma. With what haraka should the connecting Hamza be read? the connecting Hamza will be read with a Dhamma, as we learn from the rule that if the third letter has a Dhamma, the connecting Hamza will be read with a Dhamma. Utlu. Utlu. Here we go again. Who can tell me the conclusion? The connecting Hamza, what will be read with? Fatha, kasra, or Dhamma? Dhamma. Udhkur. 1, 2, 3. Dhamma. There we go. Udhkur. Finally, 1, 2, 3. Dhamma. So we know it's unzur. Unzur. If you understood this, then you have understood a concept that is actually very deep and very challenging actually for many people. However, it's not impossible. If you didn't get it the first time, it is actually very normal, very, very normal, because it is like a formula, like Riza correctly said, it's like a maths formula. And with maths, sometimes you need to take some time, you need to look at it. Sometimes, especially with me, mathematics specifically, I cannot learn, I'm sitting in class, I need to see the text. So if I have a textbook, I can learn mathematics very easily and I don't forget the rules. However, if I'm sitting and listening to someone explain to me, I need to take a lot of time and listen to the thing over and over. That is why I say, if you didn't understand it, don't worry. After the class, go through the notes and look at the things slowly, and you will see the pattern, inshallah. Okay. So that was the last. If the third letter has a Dhamma, the Hamzatul Wasl or the connecting Hamza will be read with a Dhamma. So in summary, right? Let's read in summary. The connecting Hamza will either be in the middle of the sentence, or it will be not the first letter. For example, over there, وَاتَّخَذَ وَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ, completely skipped, silent. Or it will be the first letter in the sentence, Alhamdu, Ihdina, Usjudu. It will be read either as a, I, u, with a fatha or a kasra or a dhamma. And how would we know that? You would have to go over the rules and learn the formulas, and you should be good, inshallah. Okay, there's one more concept that we need to learn, and this one is very closely related to the connecting Hamza or the Hamzatul Wasl that we just spoke about right now. And what is this? Let's look at it over here. When you see the connecting Hamza in a text, very, very often, in fact, most of the time, it's going to come in a combination. This combination over here with a lam. The lam is a very important letter. So you see how it goes together there, the connecting Hamza and the lam. Now this is called the al. The al. Again, this is when grammar, Arabic grammar, sneaks in and forces us to study bits and pieces of the science of Arabic grammar. Bits and pieces. Forced to. That is why it feels like you're jumping from easy to like, wow, this is like a totally different. It's because we're actually doing snippets of different sciences. But we don't have a choice. Because in Arabic, this combination is very important. Why is it important? Because this combination literally means the. It means the, T-H-E. So when someone is speaking, I say the car, the doctor, so you can imagine how many times you're going to use the word the. And that is why the word, this combination appears so much in Arabic text in that combination. But the reality is that there is some discussion around there. Like there's a few things we need to learn. If you look at this verse over here, which is the second verse of Surah Al-Fatiha. So we have on top the first verse, at the bottom is the second verse. So on top is Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. At the bottom, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. If you look over here, you'll see again, it's the same combination. The connecting Hamza with the Lam next to it. That's the Al, which means the. But you will see a difference. If you look at them too, there's a difference between the ones on top and one at the bottom. And there will only be either one of the two. It's either be the one at top or the one at the bottom, and they will appear right throughout, almost in most probably every single verse. So it's very important. But now what are we going to learn about this concept? We're not going to learn anything new pronunciation, nothing like that. All I'm going to tell you is, you already know the lam. Like Alhamdu Rabbil Alameen, you say the lam. Sometimes you are going to skip the lam as well. So we learned that the connecting Hamza is skipped sometimes. Well, the lam as well will also be skipped sometimes when it comes in this combination. So let's look over here. The Al. Okay. The Al, the lam in the Al combination can be divided into two types of lam. And we're going to give them names. These names are not important for you right now in terms of the names itself, but the names will become very important later on if you're going to learn Arabic or you're going to further your studies even in Tajweed. You need to know these terminologies. The moon lam and the sun lam. The moon lam and the sun lam. Now let me tell you something special about these terminologies, because it's something actually there's a good secret in the names. The moon lam is the normal lam that we've been learning all the time. You'll read it, right? It will never be skipped. It's always there. It's read as normal, right? It always have a sukoon. It's just, that's the lam that we've been reading all the time. And the good thing about it, or the amazing thing about it is in the name, the moon lam. The moon, as we know, the moon is very clear. You see the moon and you can see it all the time at night. When you look at it, the moon is clear if you look at the moon. Like you can see the moon if you look at the moon. However, when you look at the sun, you cannot even look at the sun, right? So you cannot actually see the sun. So now, even just from the name, I can tell you now that the moon lam will always be present. It will always be pronounced. You will always be read it. The sun lam will always be skipped. That's just from the name, right? It always hides away. You cannot see it. It's just invisible. Or you can see it, but you will skip it. So look over here, the examples of the moon lam. And here's an example of the sun lam. So let's see if we can pick up any differences. So look at over there. The moon lam will always have a sukoon. Even if the sukoon don't look like a circle, there are many shapes for a sukoon, which I will make a document and show you a few shapes. In the Quran, it doesn't look like that, but I mean, it's quite simple. It's not an issue. The thing is that the moon lam will always have a sukoon on there. Whereas the sun lam will always have nothing on there. Nothing. No fatha, no kasra, no, not even a sukoon, zero. And that's also to inform you that this lam you're going to skip. Another example, there again, the moon lam with a sukoon, the sun lam with no markings. The moon lam with a sukoon and the sun lam with no markings. Now I want you to know of another unique thing about the sun lam. Look at over here on the sun lam and notice that every time after the sun lam, the letter after the sun lam has a shadda. Shadda is shadda. Shadda. So that's another way in which you can identify the sun lam. Because especially when you are reading Arabic, normally sometimes, you know what they do? They don't put the sukoon on the moon lam. So then you sometimes become, okay, now what is what? But then the shadda will always be there after the sun lam. So that's just a trick of how to identify. So the moon lam always has a sukoon. The sun lam has no markings and there's a shadda on the letter after it. Okay, let's start with the moon lam in terms of application. Okay, the moon lam, the moon lam, as we can see over here, has a sukoon. So we said the lam that comes with the connecting hamza and forms that combination, the al combination. That lam will be seen in a text in two types. It will either be a moon lam and a sun lam. And we said, what is a moon lam? What is a sun lam? We said the moon lam, we'll identify it by it always has the sukoon on there. The sun lam, on the other hand, we said that it will have no markings on there and there will always be a shadda on the letter after it. Okay. Now let's look at the application. Here we go. Again, words that we know. Alhamdu. Now we already know why the connecting hamza here has a fatha, because it's followed by a lam. Alhamdu. But I want you to focus on the lam. Can you see it's pronounced? Not being skipped or anything. Again here. Al-qari'atu. Connecting hamza has a fatha and the lam is pronounced. Again, al-qamaru. Al-qamaru. Let's see in the middle of when the connecting hamza comes in the middle of a sentence. Here we go. Rabbil alameen. Rabbil. What's the focus point? What I want you to note here is the lam is pronounced. It's not hidden, it's not skipped, nothing like that. It's just normal as we've been learning all along. Rabbil alameen. Here we go. Siratal mustaqim. Tal. Tal. Can you see tal? From the ta to the lam is pronounced. Not skipped or anything. Laylatul qadari. Tul qadari. Laylatul qadari. The moon lam is the original rule of the lam. It's clear, there's nothing fancy. The issue comes with the sun lam. This is where we need to focus. So the moon lam will always be pronounced. No problems. The sun lam, on the other hand, will always be silent. Right? So the sun lam here, we said it always, if you look over here, I made it gray to show it's silent, no markings. And there's a shutdown the next letter. So look at an example. Here we go. And we can see the connecting hamza here is in the beginning of the word. And it's followed by a lam. So which haraka will the connecting hamza take? Will it be a, e, or u? Seeing that it's in the beginning of the sentence and there's a lam after it. Let's get that first. Excellent. So we'll get a fatha. Someone says a kasra. Right? So it will get a fatha. You see, this is why I said, go back. It's fine if you don't know. This is perfectly fine. You will be confused because we've done a lot of rules. But when you go back to the notes and you'll start to see the different categories, right? We said that if it's in the beginning of the sentence, if there is a lam after it, it's going to get a fatha one way. Alhamdu, al-qari'ah, al-qamaru, al. If there's a lam after the connecting hamza, you don't ask further questions. If there's no lam, now you look at the third letter. Now you look, okay, third letter, there's a fatha, okay, kasra, it has a kasra, okay, and the whole story, right? But we're done with that now, right? We're done with that. We want that one come up now again. So you can just go through that again. So the connecting hamza has a fatha. It's important to that to know because I want you to focus on the lam. So we sorted the connecting hamza out of the way. It has a fatha because there's a lam. Okay. Look how this is read. And we all know this word in Surah Fatiha. Ar-Rahman. Ar-Ra. Look at this part. Ar-Ra. 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 Can you see I'm going straight from the a to the ra, lam, 0. Skipped. Ar-ra. Another example. Ash-shams. And you can see the shad is always there. Ash-shams. Ash-shams. So you see, I'm not saying al-shams, not al-shams, ash-shams. Lam, gone. It's a sun lam. There's no markings, and there's a shadda after it. Here we go. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. So I won't say al-salamu alaikum, not al-salamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Skip the lam, goodbye. Straight to the scene. Assalamu alaikum. Here we go. Maliki yawmiddin. Now this is in the middle of a sentence. So the connecting Hamza firstly is gone. Remember we said connecting Hamza when it comes to the middle of a sentence, when it's not the first letter, skip. Okay, let's move to the lam. This lam has nothing on there. No sukoon. It's a sun lam. You will also be skipped. So you see, sometimes you can skip 2 letters, even 3 sometimes. So this will be middin, straight from the meme to the dal with a shadda. Middin, 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 from the meme to the dal. Here we go. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. What's the second ayah? Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Do you hear any lam in there? There's no lam. Why is there no lam when the lam is written? Because it's the sun lam. You say, okay, but now how do I know it's a sun lam? You can't just tell me lam, sun lam, moon lam. How do I know? You will look at the lam. If there's no sukoon, there's nothing on the lam. They're telling you there's nothing on the lam. Skip the lam. There's nothing on there. All right? Ar-Rahman. And why do this connecting Hamza have a fatha? Because there's a lam after it. We ask no further questions. Ar-Rahman. So that's Ar-Ra. And let's look over here. The connecting Hamza is in the middle of a sentence. Skip. The lam has nothing on the sun lam. You shall also be skipped. So I'm going to go from the noon into the ra. Nir-Rahim. Nirra. 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 And can you see how the words join just as letters join? If you have a word with a kasra and then a shadda to the shadda, it's just like that. Nirra. That could have been one word. Ar-Rahman Nir-Rahim. Here we go. Wash-shamsu wal-qamaru. And this is the final example. This is a beautiful example because here we have a connecting Hamza in the middle of a sentence. Skip. We have a lam. This is a sun lam. Who can tell me in the group now, how do I know this is a sun lam? 2 clues I have that this is a sun lam. Remember, in an Arabic text, you're not going to see it highlighted gray. It's going to be black. So you need to be able to identify. So who can tell me? No harakat on the lam. The shadda on the next letter. Nothing on top. All of those are valid answers. Even both of those answers are 100% valid. Nothing on the lam, skip. Shadda on the next letter, that is double confirmation. This is a sun lam. Wash-shamsu. And here we go. Wal-qamaru. What type of lam is this and how do you know? It's a moon lam. How do we know? Because the sukoon. Perfect. 100%. Wal-qamaru. That is why I'm saying wal-qamaru. Wash-shamsu wal-qamaru. Wash-shamsu wal-qamaru. Perfect. Perfect. We covered now everything. There is one more thing. We're actually done. There's one more thing that I want to give over to you. I initially didn't want to. I wasn't plan to. I kind of halfway prepared it, but I never completed the transitions, so it won't be as perfect as this, because I'm actually planning not to do it. I was planning to send it another time. But since that you are in the motion, and many of you are getting this concept, I want to show you something extra. And it's going to be the last thing I'm going to give to you, and then we are done with the course. Right? So as you can see, it was still in process. But this is a very important note regarding the connecting Hamza. And what is that? Let's read over here. Any mad, alif mad, ya mad, waw mad that appear before the connecting Hamza will also become silent. Let's look at an example. And look at this example specifically over here. This is in Surah Fatiha. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. If you see over here, I said Nassi. From the noon straight to the sad. Nassi. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. And if you look in the Quran, we'll see there's a mad there. Why is that mad gone? Okay, I know the connecting Hamza is gone because it's in the middle of the sentence. The lam is gone because it's a sun lam. There's nothing on the lam. The shadda after, I know that lam is skipped. Connecting Hamza gone. The lam is gone. The mad is also gone because it's coming before a connecting Hamza. The connecting Hamza goes down and it takes the mad with him. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Here we go. Look at this example. Idhal biharu. Can you see that? Dhal, from the to the lam. Idhal biharu. Another example. Fil ardi. You see that from the fi to the lam. That's how I made it read. Fi. Fil. Mad gone because it's coming before a Hamzatul Wasl, the connecting Hamza. The Hamzatul Wasl is gone because it's in the middle of a sentence. And the lam is the moon lam. That's why we're reading it. Fil ardi. La salul jahim. There's a mad. Why are you not reading the mad? Because it's coming before a connecting Hamza. Both of them fall away. La salul jahim. Finally, wa fis samai. Connecting Hamza gone because it's not the first letter. The lam gone because it's a sun lam. There's nothing on there. The mad is also gone because it comes before a connecting Hamza. Wa fis samai. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. And with that, we concluded the course. If there are any questions, as or not we're done now, we can still take them. I hope everyone benefited from this lesson. This lesson is very, very, very important.